So Russell Brand has been baptised, and for those who don't know, Russell Brand is a little bit of a British icon. So let's take a little look at what he has to say.
This is an opportunity for us to look at corruption in institutions, look at hypocrisy in media.
The institution of the church have kind of done a poor deal on
The world is getting more religious, not less.
your own journey, because you have to have your own relationship with God and not have that relationship through someone else.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of things personally. I know you've been through a lot of things personally too. But for me, I've reached the point where the figure, the personage, the presence of Christ became overwhelming, unavoidable,
I just find it funny how he has like the perfect complexity of the image he's just shown of Jesus. The beard with the hair. And also, I want to know where he got the teeth done. He's got his teeth done because his teeth are looking sick, right? Pearly whites. I want to know. Because if I could get anything done, it's got to be my teeth. I like to get them nice and pearly white.
welcome, necessary. Like, suffering is not fun, is it? You know what it is to suffer, right? You know what it is to lose people. You know what it is to be attacked. You know what it is to be persecuted. You know what it is to sometimes feel the actual presence of evil in your life. Where do you turn to? Where do you turn to in those moments? Well, a lot of people across the world are turning to religion. Were you struck by the stories about Bishop Marmari Emmanuel? He's returned to work after surviving stabbing. This is from Avi Yemeni. A little post on him returning, and indeed still saying that he is against censorship. There's been some...
Can't lie, this was bad, mate. This was bad. Anyone who doesn't know, Bishop Marmari is a Orthodox Christian, I'm pretty sure, in Australia, and he's gone pretty viral recently online, where just preaching basically, and preaching a lot of the truth. Well, he's preaching all the truth, right? He's saying all the right things, and Islamic lad came into one of his preaches and went to stab him in the eye and attack him, and he lost his eye, and it was all kicking off, right? And then this guy got up from getting attacked, put his hands on the kid, forgave him, prayed for him, went to hospital. Week later, comes back, eye patch, holds his little crop. Mate, the guy's bad. Look at him with his little eye patch. The guy's so sick.
The name's Buck, short for Buckminster.
reports on me
Take a look at it.
getting
Trust me,
baptised. Now, obviously someone like me who's
inspirational.
for a long time was associated with, I don't know, a decadent, hedonistic, Hollywood lifestyle, maybe a move like this. I mean, you tell me what you think about it. A lot of people maybe are surprised by it, think it is surprising. A lot of people, like David Icke, has said that, that he has some problem with me turning. Have a look. Candace Owens converts to Roman Catholicism, as has Ava Vladingerbrook, and Jordan Peterson's wife, Tammy Peterson, who I know, and she's a lovely woman. While Russell Brand does the rosary. Indeed, I do. What the F is happening to the mainstream alternative media? Now, like, me, I've known about David Icke and known David Icke a long time, and I admire David Icke, and I can't wait to have another conversation with him specifically about this, because David Icke has contributed some important ideas and themes to the conversation of, well, whether you call it awakening or anti-establishment, whatever you call it, he's really participated, and he's the OG, is he? Maybe some of you might say, oh, well, what about Alan Watts or Terence McKenna or the Beats? David Icke, when it comes to certainly some of the more, what was once regarded as the realm of the conspiracy, David Icke has done some extraordinary stuff. They talk about freedom of speech and convert to the church with a long, long history of mass murder for the crime of having a different opinion. Extraordinary. Something's going on and it's not good. Now, of course, many people are aware of, how can you not be aware of the history of the church? Hurl all the abuse you like, it doesn't matter to me. It needs saying when blatant cognitive dissonance is so rampant. So this is something that I feel like we have an opportunity to address. Why is it that people are turning to faith? Let's have a look. A greater share of young adults say they believe in a higher power or God. About 1/3 of 18 to 25-year-olds say they believe more than doubt the existence of a higher power, up from about 1/4 in 2021, according to a recent survey of young adults. It's always been assumed that Christianity in particular was in decline.
Can't lie, I saw that stat previously, and it is a little bit of a shock, because I know, beautiful and young, so I fit into that age category, right? 18 and 25. And I don't know, from like talking to people, it does seem like a lot of people do think there's something more, something a bit of a higher power. Like, just even look at the complexities of yourself. Like, if you sat there looking at fingers, thumbs, bang, I can move my thumbs, move my fingers, move my toes, right? All these little things that we just don't even think about. And then if you deep it, those complexities and how the universe spins, how the Earth's on this axis, not that I know much about that, but just how everything's created, surely there has to be something bigger to design it. It can't just happen out of nothingness. And then 1 minute we're swimming as fish in the ocean, next minute, 1,000 years later, we've got the intelligence to build houses, build roads, build societies, build communities, build, some people, like, extremely intelligent, build aeroplanes and rocket jets to get us to other planets to explore them kind of things. Like, surely something has to be bigger to create that, that's outside of time and our realm, if you want to say. And it can't just happen. I think a lot of people do kind of sit down, if you deconstruct it, break it down into that, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, and even just the feeling of, like, there has to be more. Do you know what I mean?
And of course, the arguments about the Crusades, the corruption, the Catholic Church, paedophilia scandals, these are all things that people understand. The potential compliance and advocacy of the papacy in the Second World War. There are...
Obviously, all that is horrendous and should be rebuked and should be dealt with in the correct manner, if they're correct. I'm not going to say that, I don't know. But you just take Christianity. Like, it shouldn't be judged on what this Pope fella does, right? A lot of bollocks, in my opinion. And what I do, what other Christians do. You shouldn't judge Christianity on what the people of Christianity do, which is kind of hard. Like, you should judge it on Jesus, because ultimately the whole thing is about Jesus pointing towards God, who came down in human form to show us how to live and give us a roadmap of the correct way to live. But because God's standards are so high, we have sin and we're all bound to here, right? Bound to this world. And we have sin and God is apart from sin. We're never going to reach those standards, right? We're never going to reach those standards. So ultimately, why are you looking at us? If that's your argument, why are you looking at, like, don't look at me and judge Christianity off what I do. Look at Jesus, study Jesus, and judge it off what he did, because he is God, and that's what ultimately Christians are trying, or should be trying to work towards. Well, not work towards, that's probably the word, not a great way of articulating it, but trying to be like, you're trying to be like Jesus, you're trying to be set apart, be more like God, and be less of sin, right? And just the principles of Jesus coming down and showing us how to do it is what Christianity is. So it's more following Jesus than following a religion as such, if that's a decent way of deconstructing it, or putting it in a sense of, don't judge Christianity off the people, judge Christianity off of Jesus.
Endless scandals around the institutions that have grown out of Christianity. And having been Christian for 24 hours now, I can unravel and resolve all of those complex questions for you. Obviously, I can't. I can only tell you what has personally drawn me towards the faith over the course of our little conversation now. But it's interesting to me that people en masse, in particular young people, are recognizing that the material world that I sought to find solace and comfort in is no longer serving that function for many young people. That's extraordinary, isn't it? People are waking up. People are realizing it doesn't work. It isn't going to work. When I was a kid,
I also think it's because I think it's much more accessible now because I think a lot of people don't want to be like, a lot of people actually don't want to be at that 1% of rich, 1% of have everything that no one else can have. I think most people just want to be comfortable and have a house, have a car, have just like comfortable living. I think majority of people deep down that's what they want, right? And I think nowadays in the Western world especially, or I can only speak from my perspective, is a lot more accessible to people. Not that it's easy, not that everyone gets the opportunities, right? But it is a lot more accessible to the majority of people to reach comfortability in that sense.
I was thinking, yeah, hedonism, excitement, glory, as well as being sort of scarred with a pretty painful addiction and I know an emptiness, but I've heard a lot of Christians say that that is almost a defining attribute, that we need a direct relationship with Christ, and without that relationship we will feel hollow and empty and bereaved. Young adults, theologians and church leaders attribute the increase in part to the need for people to believe in something beyond themselves after 3 years of loss. 84% of the world's population identifies with a religious group. That's extraordinary, isn't it? Members of this demographic are generally younger and produce more children than those who have no religious affiliation. So the world is getting more religious, not less.
Not that I disagree with any of that, but I do always wonder where they get all these stats from, in these surveys, because 84% of the world's population. You didn't ask me.
I felt a calling and mistranslated it time after time as various forms of addiction, substance misuse and drinking too much, and an overwhelming urge to lose myself in concupiscence, continually looking for love in all the wrong places. And isn't it extraordinary, any of you that have experienced this already, to get baptized? Do you feel like, how can this ceremony have any real import? How can the gentle, or actually in my case quite radical, immersion beneath water, and in my case a live river, make any real difference? How can the sins of the past be washed away? How can you be born again? How can you awaken anew? I suppose to answer that question, you have to inquire in what you consider the self to be, whether you're made up just of impulses and urges and memories, or whether or not you believe there is a ghost in the machine, or more likely a Holy Spirit if you're willing to invite it into your life. For me, I've reached a point in my life where for a long while, in fact, I've known that the material world was not enough. And more than that, as many of you are surely already mouthing, it's not even about you. This I've learned as an addict in recovery. The pursuit of my own goals and my own agenda always leaves me cold and always leaves me empty and always leaves me wanting more. You can never have enough of what you don't really want. For me, this is a new discovery. It is a surrender undertaken in gratitude and in sincerity. And I know that it's not something I'll be able to undertake perfectly, but for the first time in my life, I fully understand that I'm not at the centre of my universe. And I say that as a parent. I got 3 really, really beautiful kids I'm devoted to and dedicated to. But now I know that my function here is to be of service and to be guided, and to no longer be in autonomous or authoritative control of the measures and pursuits that are put before me. And that aligns so beautifully with what we do here on this show and on this channel. This is an opportunity for us to look at corruption in institutions, look at hypocrisy in media, look at a planet that seems to be in pretty serious trouble, and see how individually and collectively we can participate in an awakening. So for me, I've done what I believe is unavoidable, inevitable, necessary for me, for all of the exotic exploration, for all of the various drugs and substances, for all of the esoteric practices. I've found it in that humble place that was at the end of my arm, at the end of my street, sat at bus stops, sat in churches, droned on about in school assemblies, in Christianity, and in particular in the figure of Christ. And I'm done proselytizing. Your journey will be your journey, but I'll be praying for you as many have been praying for me. And I appreciate all of your prayers, and I've felt your prayers, and I've been carried by your prayers, and I will do my best to honour your prayers. This is a conversation we can go on having, because, hey, we're reading Mere Christianity as part of our book club. And if you become an awakened wonder, and obviously you're very welcome. And if it's not something you can afford, let us know. Send us an email at help@russellbrand.com, and we'll give it to you for nothing. It's about more than money for us. We need to run this institution. We need to run this business. We need to grow this movement. But if you want to join us, you're very welcome to join us. We meditate every week. We're reading every week. You can join.
I think he has partly really hit the nail on the head, in the sense that when he says it's not about us, it's not about what we want, it's not about our things we want materialistically, that everyone does inherently want. Like, everyone wants a nice house, everyone likes to have nice things, right? But I was thinking, since from his perspective, he's what a lot of people work towards in that materialistic sense. They never feel like they get enough relationally, never feel like they get enough materialistically, they never feel like they get enough credit or fame or anything like that. But I think in his perspective, because it's so radical and it's so, like, it can be such a sudden and radical thing because he's had all that. And I think a lot of people don't have all that, so the whole life, all they're doing is searching for that, and they're never going to hit that. But I do think he articulated it probably better than I could, in the sense that instead of chasing after all those things, you're never going to find fulfillment in any of those things. You're only ever going to find fulfillment when you press into God and you invite God, because he is a gentleman. I've said this previously. He's a gentleman. He's not gonna burst into your life, and because I think that's where a lot of Christians or the institution of a church have kind of done a poor deal on pressing or just pushing it upon people, which at times it's like, all right, nice, you're doing what we're supposed to do, spread the gospel, spread the great news, spread the word of God. But like I said, I do think there's a better way of doing that than just shouting about Jesus to people and then hoping they change. I think it's a lot of it's relational. Like, Jesus never walked into a room and started screaming and shouting or pointing the bad things out about people. All he did was pointing people towards God and point people towards himself, and there's a better way of doing life. And he also said, if people aren't going to listen, don't keep rambling on, which I think a lot of Christians have done. Like, when people are right, we've heard what you have to say, they keep ramming it in with anything, right? If I'm walking around the street and someone's screaming about something they're passionate about, like global warming, or even if it's Christianity, right? If I've just got my AirPods in, walking down, get some scran or something, sometimes it's like, do you know what? Just, you're not going to communicate to people effectively in that way. And I think Christianity has done that poorly as a whole. Not everyone's done it poorly, but I think as a whole you can say it's been done a bit. Like, it could have been, obviously in hindsight anything could have been done better, but it could have been done better. I think also as viewers, and if you watch Russel Brand, I don't know, I don't personally watch what he does, but I watch a lot of like sports stuff, sports content, blah, blah, blah. And if you're a big fan of Russel Brand and you're a Christian, I could understand you'd be so overjoyed and so like, oh, that's so good. Like, he's getting towards God, he's pointing people towards God, which is ultimately the goal of a Christian, is to hold the mirror and stand up and just point people towards God. Like, it's not our job to convince people. You can debate with people, but it's not our point to try and convince someone that this is the right way of living. I think it's something we should do, and ultimately from what we do and having those just conversations, it's pointing people towards God, not convincing people of God. And I think we could get so caught up in, like, celebrities or people that we look up to or aspire to be like. They start on that journey, get so caught up in it, and then it affects your spiritual journey. And because everyone wants someone to look up to, and I think ultimately we should just keep that as Jesus and not try and build icons that dictate our faith, and at times can dictate our way of thinking and our journey of God. I think it's great to have people to look up to, and if that's a mentor or like someone, like, if you love Russel Brand, like, not a bad thing to listen to what he has to say and take it on board, but just continue to do your own journey, continue to have your own relationship with God, and not have that relationship through someone else and through the lens of someone else, because everyone has their blind spots. So I think it's just not making them so high in your life that you don't keep Jesus as a centre. But I also do want to take a look at what he has to say about baptism, because he didn't really get onto that.
At the moment, I'm very curious as to what you who have been baptised feel about it, what your expectations are of the event prior, and what it's actually like. What's been explained to me is it's an opportunity to die and be reborn, an opportunity to leave the past behind and be reborn in Christ's name, like it says in Galatians, that you can live as an enlightened and awakened person. Sometimes I think of non-Christian perspectives on it, like Marcus Aurelius saying, you are already dead, now live the rest of your life properly, or the Buddhist saying, put down the corpse. All of these things seem so inviting and beautiful. I know a lot of people are sort of cynical about the increasing interest in Christianity and the return to God, but to me it's obvious. As meaning deteriorates in the modern world, as our value systems and institutions crumble, all of us become increasingly aware that there is this eerily familiar, awakening and beckoning figure that we've all known all of our lives within us and around us. And for me it's very exciting. One of my concerns is I'm thinking about doing it in the River Thames, so I could be getting sort of baptised in toxoplasmosis and E. coli based on what I've learned. So I may be leaving behind the sins, but I might be picking up some pretty serious viruses. Let me know what you guys think about it. And
Yeah, River Thames, I don't think that's the... Yeah. Even just the water down south, right? Total sidetrack, right? The water down south is rank, mate. If anyone is from down south and you drink the water out of those taps, you're weird, man. Like, it tastes like puddle water. It is disgusting. It is not it. Never mind getting dunked in the river. I feel like the main takeaway from this is that just to continually to just pray for people like Russel Brand, people who are in a mainstream media, of people have got loads of eyes on them and can point so many people towards Jesus, to just pray for protection over these people, and to not let your relationship with God hang on their relationship with God, in the sense that if, let's say, you're a big fan of Russel Brand, you're a big fan of, who's another big, Justin Bieber's a Christian, right? If you're a massive Justin Bieber fan, don't let's say he fell away and was like, all of a sudden started coming out and saying, oh, it's all this, blah, blah, it's a cult, blah, 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 which is a totally different story. But don't let your faith get hindered because of that, by putting these people at such high esteem in your life. Instead, just pray for these people. Let's lift these people up to God. And then in your life, just sometimes try and apply like what he's doing a great job of, is just speaking openly and just pointing people towards Jesus, which I think is a great model for everyone to do. Do you know what? I think that's amazing, man. I think that's so amazing that he can just openly speak about Jesus. I know he speaks about loads of stuff, and I've listened to some interviews. He's a funny guy, right? I just think that's amazing that there is so many people in that area now, and because of social media, is seen more coming to Jesus and can just point people towards Jesus. So I think that's a plus. So when people seem to have a problem online and stuff, I understand challenging someone's terminology, but don't diminish the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? But nah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming along. And yeah, catch you, mate. Peace.